The amphibious American truck that swam ashore on 5 D-Day beaches. Part 1, June 6, 1944. The largest amphibious invasion in human history. And among the first vehicles to hit every single beach in Normandy wasn't a tank. It was a truck. A 6-wheeled cargo hauler that could drive straight out of the ocean like some mechanical sea creature, drop 3 tons of ammunition on the sand, then turn around and swim back for more. The DUKW. A vehicle so strange that its own designers thought it would never work. A machine that engineers initially rejected as impossible. And yet, by the time the war ended, this ungainly swimming truck would prove more vital to Allied victory than almost any weapon in the arsenal. But there was a flaw, a fatal weakness built into every single one. And on one terrible day in peacetime, that flaw would be written in blood. The DUKW shouldn't exist. When American military planners looked at the problem of amphibious warfare in 1942, they saw a nightmare. Landing ships could bring troops and tanks to a beach. But what then? How do you supply an invasion force when ports are destroyed, when harbors are mined, when the enemy controls every dock? Traditional landing craft could deliver cargo to the waterline. Then soldiers had to unload everything by hand, carry it through surf, through mud, under fire. It was slow, dangerous, inefficient. The British had tried to solve this with specialized amphibious vehicles. Most failed spectacularly. Too slow on land, too unstable in water, too complicated to maintain under combat conditions. What the Allies needed was something that didn't yet exist. A vehicle that was a real truck on land. Not a compromise. Not a slow, waddling amphibian. A proper cargo truck that could also swim. 2 completely different machines in one body. Rod Stevens Jr. didn't build weapons. He designed yachts. Racing sailboats for America's Cup competitors. Beautiful, fast, elegant things. When the United States Army approached his firm, Sparkman and Stevens, they wanted his expertise in marine design. They showed him the basic concept. Take a standard military truck. Make it float. Stevens looked at what they wanted and saw a dozen reasons it couldn't work. The weight, the proportions, the center of gravity, everything about a truck's design fights against buoyancy. But he was a yacht designer. He understood hulls, water displacement, stability in waves. He chose the GMC-CCWK, the American military's workhorse, 2.5-ton cargo truck. Soldiers called it the Jimmy. It was reliable, powerful, simple to maintain, but it weighed over 5 tons empty. Making that swim would require a miracle of engineering. Stevens wrapped the entire truck chassis in a watertight hull, not bolted on, not an add-on. The hull became the vehicle's body. He shaped it like a boat's hull. A proper displacement hull with a pointed bow and a flat stern. The cargo bed sat inside this hull, waterproof. The cab perched on top. The entire machine was 31 feet long, 8 feet wide, nearly 9 feet tall. The designation told you exactly what it was. D for designed in 1942, U for utility, K for all-wheel drive, W for dual rear axles, DUKW. Soldiers looked at that jumble of letters and called it the Duck. The name stuck. On land, it drove like any 6-wheeled truck, all 6 wheels powered, could climb a 60% grade, top speed 45 miles per hour on roads. The engine was a GMC straight and 6, 269 cubic inches, 94 horsepower. Not impressive, but torque was what mattered. Pulling power. The DUKW had that. In water, everything changed. The driver engaged a propeller at the rear, a single 3-bladed prop driven off the transfer case. Maximum water speed was 6 miles per hour. Slow. Painfully slow compared to dedicated boats. But the DUKW wasn't trying to be fast. It was trying to be useful. And useful meant carrying cargo. 3 tons of it. Artillery shells, medical supplies, fuel drums, food, water, anything an invasion force needed. The genius was in the transition. A DUKW could drive down a ramp into the ocean without stopping. The wheels kept turning underwater, propelling it until the hull gained buoyancy. Then the propeller took over. Going from water to land was the same process in reverse. No cranes, no unloading, no stopping. The driver simply aimed at the beach and drove. Before we go on, if forgotten and impossible war machines fascinate you, subscribe to Forgotten War Relics and hit the bell so you never miss one. The Army didn't want it. When Stevens and his team demonstrated the first prototype in 1942, military observers were skeptical. It looked wrong. Too tall. Too awkward. It couldn't possibly work in real combat conditions. They rejected it. Then someone had an idea. Test it in the worst possible conditions. In 1942, a cargo ship ran aground off Provincetown, Massachusetts, during a storm. Coast Guard couldn't reach it. Seas were too rough. The DUKW prototype was nearby. They sent it out, through 7-foot waves. The duck swam through conditions that would have swamped normal landing craft, reached the ship, took on cargo, brought it back, did it again and again. The Army changed its mind immediately, ordered 21,000 DUKWs. Eventually, that order grew to over 21,000 actual units produced. GMC built them. Precise numbers vary by source, but total production reached approximately 21,147 vehicles. Production started in 1943. DUKWs came off assembly lines at a rate of over 40 per day at peak production. GMC factories in Pontiac, Michigan, and Yellow Truck and Coach in Chicago turned yacht designer sketches into a war-winning assembly line product. The cost per unit was approximately $9,000. In 1943 money, that bought you a 6-ton amphibious truck ready for combat, cheaper than a tank, more versatile than a landing craft, and it was about to prove itself on the most important beaches in history. June 6, 1944, Normandy. Before a single soldier could hold a beachhead, someone had to get ammunition to them. Food, medical supplies, artillery shells, radios, all the unglamorous cargo that wins wars. The DUKW did that job on all 5 D-Day beaches. Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juno, Sword. Everywhere, Allied troops came ashore. Ducks followed behind, swimming through shell-churned water with loads that would sink ordinary trucks. On Utah Beach alone, DUKWs delivered over 75% of all supplies in the first critical days. They didn't wait for docks to be built. They didn't need pontoon bridges. They swam from ship to shore and back. Relentless shuttle runs. Each duck could carry 5,000 pounds of cargo or 25 combat troops, hour after hour. Omaha Beach, the bloodiest landing, needed them most. The initial assault nearly failed. Troops pinned down, supply lines broken. DUKWs kept moving. Drivers steered through underwater obstacles the landing craft couldn't clear. Brought ammunition forward when conventional logistics collapsed. Several ducks were destroyed by artillery fire. Crews kept driving the survivors. The Germans had no equivalent. They watched Allied supplies appear on beaches faster than should have been possible. No ports captured yet, no infrastructure. just these strange trucks that swam. Beyond Normandy, DUKWs served everywhere. Sicily, southern France, Pacific Islands, every major Allied amphibious operation. In the Pacific theater, they became even more critical. Island hopping meant constant amphibious assault. Most Pacific islands had no ports. Coral reefs blocked conventional landing craft. DUKWs drove over reefs that would tear the bottom out of boats. At Iwo Jima, DUKWs delivered supplies under sustained artillery fire. Black volcanic sand stopped wheeled vehicles. But ducks swam to shore, drove up the beach using their six-wheel drive, delivered cargo, and returned to ships offshore. The Marine Corps credited them with making impossible logistics merely difficult. Statistics tell the story. In the European theater, DUKWs carried over 18 million tons of cargo. Pacific operations added millions more. A single duck typically completed over 30 round trips per day during intensive operations. Do the math. 20,000 vehicles, 30 trips per day, years of operations. The tonnage becomes astronomical. Average service life exceeded the entire war. Most DUKWs that survived combat remained operational through 1945 and beyond. Reliability proved exceptional for such an unusual design. Maintenance crews learned quickly. Standard GMC truck parts for most components. Simple boat propeller technology. Nothing exotic. Nothing that couldn't be repaired on a beach under fire. But the most remarkable statistic is operational losses. Despite serving in every major combat zone, DUKW loss rates remained relatively low. Exact numbers are difficult to determine, but compared to landing craft or amphibious tanks, ducks proved survivable. High freeboard kept waves out. Speed meant less time under fire. Redundant systems allowed limping home on damaged components. After the war, most nations forgot about it. Militaries sold them as surplus. The DUKW became a tourist attraction. Duck tours. Silly name. Splashing into rivers for entertainment. The machine that helped win the largest war in history reduced to novelty rides. Military planners moved on. They wanted specialized vehicles, purpose-built amphibious assault vehicles, heavy armor. The DUKW's simplicity became a weakness in peacetime thinking. By the 1950s, military DUKWs were mostly retired. Some nations kept them longer. The Soviet Union copied the design, called it the BAV 485, used it through the 1960s. Several smaller nations operated DUKWs into the 1970s. But the age of the swimming truck was ending. What the DUKW proved was more important than any individual vehicle. Amphibious logistics worked, not just for assault troops, but for the unglamorous tons of cargo that keep armies functioning. Every modern amphibious vehicle, from the LAR-C5 to contemporary systems, learned from the duck. The design influenced civilian applications too. Modern amphibious vehicles for disaster relief trace lineage back to those wartime GMC trucks. When floods strike, when hurricanes hit, the vehicles that drive into standing water to rescue people are descendants of that Sparkman and Stevens yacht design. Roughly 300 DUKWs still exist, some operational, some in museums, a few still giving tours. Most people who ride them have no idea what they're sitting in. No concept that this awkward, goofy-looking truck swam through the English Channel under German artillery fire, that it delivered the ammunition that liberated Europe, that it island hopped across the Pacific. The DUKW succeeded because it refused to be just one thing. Not a truck, not a boat, Something in between that worked better than either in the specific hell of amphibious warfare. It looked wrong, performed right, and nobody remembers it. 21,000 machines that helped win the war. Forgotten, turned into entertainment. The duck that conquered beaches now splashes in calm harbors for tourists. History has a strange sense of irony. If you enjoyed this, subscribe to Forgotten War Relics for more of the strangest machines history forgot.